What's up, y'all? So today on Texas Moto Rock, we're out early today. Gotta get gas, head into the studio. I wish I had a way that I could carry coffee on here. I gotta figure that out. Hashtag 2024 goals. Oh man, these gas prices are going up so high. $3.55 makes me think I need to get a new job on the board of an energy company. So today, oh shoot, I don't know why it started shooting out everywhere. So today, heading into the studio so I can experiment with a new pedal that came in. I've got a problem. I love playing orange amps. Specifically, I love having this orange Dark Terror amp. It's a little bitty amp. Oh man, look at that. That like filled up really quickly. It normally doesn't do that. That's weird. So today, we're heading into the studio so I can experiment with some pedals. Specifically one new pedal that came in, but I might shoot it out against another one. I got a problem. I love playing orange amps. Specifically, I got this amp a couple years ago called a Dark Terror. It's a little 18 watt like practice amp. It's only got one channel and it's all distortion, all tube tone, and it's really dark. It does a pretty good amount of high gain. Sounds amazing. Problem is it gets a little flubby in the low end. It needs tightened up. I've been playing that amp so much, but anytime I try to play it live, it kind of gets lost in the mix. I need something to tighten it up. Best way to tighten up a flubby low-end amp is with something called a tube screamer. There's a infamous company called Ibanez who makes pedals called tube screamers, and you probably heard of them. They made the TS808 and then they made the TS9 afterwards, and infamous pedals. And not only are they used in metal and hard rock to tighten up that low end and to give a little boost in the mid-range, but players like blues players that play strats love those pedals because strats typically are missing a little bit of a bump in that mid-range. Just naturally, the guitars lack it. So when you think of a player like Stevie Ray Vaughan, he infamously used tube screamers as well. I don't play like Stevie Ray Vaughan, wish I did, but I do play hard rock. So I'm trying to make this amp a little less dark, and I got a special tube screamer in because I want to experiment with playing some tones and sounds through it in different ways. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's head to the studio and unbox the pedal. So this pedal came from a company called Lichtlaerm Audio. Now, I need to probably say this right now. This is not a paid advertisement in any way. I bought this pedal with my own money after doing research upon research with a lot of companies trying to figure out what I was gonna get. And I'm still looking at some other ones, but this one really intrigued me. Look at that. Nice reflective sticker. It says Lichtlaerm audio. It's got a cool eyeball on it. We've got some packing paper with nothing in it. And we have a nice little bag with nothing else in there. But, oh, it's nice and soft or velvety. Ooh, look at that. Oh yeah. So, we have a nice pedal. And it's called the King in Yellow by Lichtlaerm Audio. There's nothing on the pedal itself. So, if you're not familiar with Tube Screamer type pedals, this is a Tube Screamer clone, essentially. What they did is they took a normal Tube Screamer and they increased the voltage. So it's 9 volts in, and then it triples up to 27 volts out, which is pretty crazy. That's a lot of headroom, a lot of gain that it can push. So this can definitely make, I would say, almost any amp a metal amp, whether it wants to be metal or not. Like, you're going to be metal. So the basic idea behind normal Tube Screamers is you would have 3 knobs on there, which you would have your gain, your level, and then you would have a tone knob, which would be like this size, probably right there. And what that allows you to do is your gain would be the amount of, like, lack of a better word, distortion, the overdrive added to it. The level would be your volume, and then the tone would be a generic tone sweep that would go from like a filtered low to a high, and then kind of everything in between. So you could filter between all of that back and forth. What this company did, Lichtlaerm Audio, they took that idea and made it more user-friendly, which is so crazy. They added a low control, a low mid, a high mid, and a high control. So instead of one tone that's just kind of generic and you're just hoping to find a spot, you have actual control over these individual frequency bands, which is great. This is essentially what you do when you're mixing guitars, when you're mixing bass, when you're mixing drums. You usually use these frequency areas like as a band, and you control them in the way in order to shape the sound, in order to cut certain frequencies you don't need in, you know, or boost ones you do want in. This is really cool. So then, that's not even where they stopped. They kept going because they added 3 different clipping modes. You have asymmetrical, symmetrical, and LED clipping modes. Right here, you have a blend knob, and this blend knob controls a clean blend coming in, which means your signal coming in, you can blend the actual unaffected sound in to try to retain some of that original tone, because it's going to be sculpted based on what you're doing with these actual knobs here. You can retain that and bring it back, so you can have a really good blend of the actual sound with the affected sound added to it. On top of that, you then also have right here on the side an effects loop, a send and a return, and a polarity switch. So even if you're running something else in that is out of polarity, you can flip your switch to make it in phase. You know, if it's out of phase, that's when your waveform is going the opposite direction. You can flip it in phase and run it. The idea behind this was that you could be able to run a second overdrive in to have a different tone going as well. And you could blend the both overdrives together, but you can also do things like maybe run a delay, some chorus, some modulation. So you would have both sounds going through, and then you would blend them together with this one specifically right here. Very interesting. I'm super excited to try that, because this was actually one of the selling points I was really looking at, was actually needing the control over an EQ on a Tube Screamer. I really wanted to have more control. Most Tube Screamers, that one tone knob wasn't really doing it for me. Well, I was actually really excited about using this for the 4-band EQ, because I wanted some control over every one of these individual frequencies. But then on top of that, I wanted to be able to run it in either a stereo configuration or run it in a wet-dry configuration. But then the added ability of running this either in stereo, as a wet-dry, or almost as a wet-dry when you add the clean blend back in. But the fact that you can also add in another overdrive or just another sound and only affect the clean blend coming in and then still have this sound altogether, that is intriguing to me, and that's what I think I'm gonna have some fun with.
All right, let's go play this.
So after playing with the pedal for a little bit, I've got some settings I like that seem to work with my Telecaster very well. It retains clarity of the low end while still retaining some smooth end on the highs so it's not piercing. So let's go ahead and listen to the guitar straight into the amp, and then we'll listen to it with the pedal on. All right, let's get the pedal on. All right, this time we're going to try the pedal with a Boss OC5 on poly mode with all the knobs all the way up, going through the effects loop on the send return, and the clean blend is set to 1 o'clock. All the other knobs, same settings. Let's check it out. So now I've got the Boss LC5 running out into a Tone City Dirple as giving it a little bit of a boost on the way back in. It's mostly a clean drive, but it's got a little bit of a mid push and it has a mid control on it for that mid push. But I've got that running through the effects loop as well after the OC5. I've got the mid control at 3 o'clock, the volume at 3 o'clock, the tone at 9 o'clock, and the gain at 11 o'clock. Let's go ahead and hear this. So to give a frame of reference between the Telecaster and a Les Paul, I wanted to see, because it sounded like it made it pretty hefty running through a single coil. So I wanted to try some humbuckers. So this is my 76 Les Paul Deluxe. Let's go ahead and try this just through the amp. And then afterwards, I'll go ahead and try with the pedal on. And then we'll do another take with the OC5 on, and then another take with the OC5 running into the Dirple on. All right, now let's try it with the Dirple. So if you're in the market for a modern take on a classic circuit, the Lichtlaerm Audio Tube Screamer is a great modern alternative to one of these. The King in Yellow definitely has some flavors in it that you can really get better control out of pushing into your amps. I didn't get to run any modulation into the effects loop. I really just ran the OC5 and the Tone City Dirple. Let me know which one of those tones you liked best down in the comments, if you preferred the Fender or the Les Paul, or if you thought one sounded better than the other in different takes. Let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you like what I do, hit subscribe, turn on that bell notification, and you'll get updates. All right, thanks guys. Remember, pull hard, play hard.